Hi you guys, it's Kimberly. If you guys watched part 1 of this video, I showed you how to unclog your misting bottles, and I also showed you how to mix your own metallic misting sprays. And I also showed you how to make this paper. I sprayed this with my metallic pink spray that I made, and then I also spritzed it with the Deco Art mister in the color black or carbon. And this is the paper that I got. Well, there's a lot that I can do with this paper. I can use this paper as a background to an ATC. I could cut this up and use it for embellishments. I could even send it through my printer and print directly onto this paper, which is exactly what I did with this. Now, I don't have these gorgeous girl stamps, but I did download these and print these directly onto the paper. And I turned them in to these adorable little ATCs. I just simply cut the image out, sized them, cut them out, and glued them directly to some 2.5 by 3.5 cardstock. And I will add some sentiments onto these cards and trade them with my friends, and I think that they turn out really cute as just simple little ATCs, but they have really nice background papers that I made with my homemade sprays. So there's a lot that you can do with these papers. I also made some embellishments out of some scraps that I had. Okay, and I think that they just turn out absolutely gorgeous. And they're so simple to make. So let's do that with this paper. Okay. Now I did this with scraps because I made some ATCs, or I'm in the process of making some ATCs. Basically do the same thing. So let me take this and take my cutter. I don't know what the heck I did with those. I cleaned up, that's the problem. Had I not cleaned up, I would know exactly where they were. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to use my cutter. You go out a little bit. And I'm going to cut these down to 2.5. I have a cold, so excuse the sniffles. And I can get 3 strips of 2.5 out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And then I have this left. Okay, and then I'm going to cut, I can get 3 ATCs out of this by cutting these in 3.5. Another one at 3.5, and another one at 3.5. Okay, so these I'll use for ATCs. Those are backgrounds. And I know they're kind of warped, but that's okay. Once I glue everything down, you won't even notice that. So I can get 9 2.5 by 3.5 pieces of paper, so I'll get 9 backgrounds. And if I later choose that I don't want to use them as backgrounds, I can, punch flowers, I can cut strips out of them, whatever. I'm just showing you the amount of scrap that I'll have if I was to use this piece of paper as backgrounds, which is typically what I do. 3.5. Okay, so these are my 9. This one I cut short. Sometimes that happens. I don't go far enough over. I stop here at 3.25. So I have 8. 3.5 by 2.5. Okay, so I'll put those aside, and I can use those as backgrounds later on if I choose to do so. Okay, so this is what I've got. I can use this one because I cut this one short, and then I've got these 3 little pieces, and I've got this strip. This is the punch that I use for my flowers. Let me turn this over. It's pretty sprayed, and just flip it. Okay, so these are my scraps. So I just take this, and I'm going to try to waste as little paper as I can. I'm just going to start punching these little flowers out. I'm going to rotate sides because I can get more flowers out of this strip by doing that. I'm just positioning it so I can get a full flower out of each punch. So this is kind of an embellishment video. You can also, if you don't want to make these little flowers, you could cut this into strips. So what I'm looking for here is I'm making sure that I'm getting a full flower, that I'm not cutting any of the petals off. Now if you happen to cut a little piece of one of the petals off, that's okay. We're going to layer these so it's not going to be that noticeable. So if you do happen to cut a little piece of one of the petals off, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You can still use it. So I'm just going to go down this strip until I cut all of it off, or until I get flowers out of all of it. We're almost there, and I can't get any more. You can save this because you can use this as a stencil. You can cut a section of this off and use it on something else. These look great if you want to put it on the bottom of one of your ATCs, you know, as a trim. You can do that with it. So don't throw these away. I mean, unless you want to, you can, but they can be used for other things. Okay, so we have those little pieces. I like to flip them all over just so that I can see, because sometimes, like, I'll be more attracted to one flower and I'll put it behind. Like if one of them has less spots on it, I'll put that one behind, and the one with more of the blacks spots on it or splatters, I'll put it on the front, if you're that picky about it. I don't know if you guys can see the metallic shine from that glitter mist that I made on the camera, but it's definitely there, and it's very pretty. I hope you can see some of it. So I've got my little gems here that I took off of my sticky back, and I get these at Hobby Lobby. They come on sticky sheets, and they're kind of hard to get off, but they're cheaper to buy them that way. I got my fine liner glue bottle here, and again, I'm using the Elmer's Craft Bond. I put the glue in the bottle myself, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to put just a spot of glue on a few of these. Okay, and then I'm going to take another one and I'm going to stagger it. Now the easiest way for me, I have found, is to pick it up, to pinch it, and to kind of twist it until I get it in between so that I have a flower, and it's not going to match up perfectly. Let me show you close up. See how it doesn't match up perfectly? Now if that bothers you, you can layer a third one on top of it and put it in those blank spaces. That doesn't bother me. So I'm gonna get another one. I'm gonna put it on top, and you know, I eyeball it and try to get it there. I push it down and then I do my best to match it up, and then I just twist it with my finger. The glue's wet, so it gives me some time. I twist it until I get it to where I want it, and then I push them together. Okay, sorry, my hands have black paint on them. Same thing, I'm going to push it together. Now some of them will come together really nicely without even having to match it up. Okay. You can use tweezers if you feel like your fingers are just getting in the way. If you don't like the way it matched up, just give it a little twist until you get it the way you want it. But don't those look cool with the black splatters on the paper and the glimmery paint? And they're so quick to spray. You can just set them aside and let them dry on their own, or you can dry it with a heat gun to speed it up. You can do a whole bunch of papers at once. It's so fast just to spray the paper on, or to spray the mist on, the homemade mist, and leave it. Make a whole bunch at once. You don't have to cut them all up right away. You know, just store it like you do your paper pads, and then put it away for when you want to go and use it. Cut it up, put it in your pocket letters. Use your bigger punches for it. Punch bigger things. Anything looks cute punched out with it. I can make 2 more. And the more you make, the quicker it gets. I know they seem kind of tedious, but really, once you get in the groove of it, you can whip quite a few of these out. It's just like anything else, it just takes practice. Okay, so we got that done. Now, let me find that first one I did that wasn't even. I have one left. I could punch some more flowers out, but I'm just going to go ahead and take this one that I have, and I'm going to stick it on the back of this one. Okay, so this one has 3 layers. The others only have 2. Okay, so we got 9 flowers there. So I'm going to dump some of my little gem things. I'm going to put a dot of glue. Am I still in frame? Let me try to position this so that... There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take a spot of glue, put it in the center of each one of my flowers. My paper is kind of warped because I had it so wet from spraying. So if that bothers you, just change your paper, remove it completely. Oops, one more. I like to put my glue down all at once because I think it saves time, but you do it however you feel comfortable. I like to get all of my gems in the right position. You can use tweezers or you can just use your finger. I do it both ways. Just depends on, I guess, whatever my mood is. It's easier for me to show you with tweezers because then I don't feel like my fingers are getting in the way of the camera. But honestly, when I'm not, you know, on film, I do that because I think it's faster. I just push my finger down on it, put it in place, and push it down. That's faster, but I know that it's covering up a lot of view. But these are kind of hard to pick up with tweezers. It's kind of a pain, but it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. See how hard it is. So just pick it up, stick it down. Try to get it in the center. And that's it. Aren't those the cutest flowers? You guys see them okay? What do you guys think? Okay. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna find my die cuts. I have it right here. I just have my postage stamp die cuts, okay? I'm just gonna take some of these white ones. These are just white postage stamp. I think that they are cut at 1.5 inch square stamps. If you don't have a die cut machine and you just want squares, just cut squares. Okay. So in order to do this part, I'm just going to cut these into strips. This is going to be too long, but if I cut it in half, it's going to be too short. So I'm just going to cut them like this. It's better to use your long scissors when you're cutting longer strips rather than your small scissors, because the chances of your lines being straighter are better if you're using a long pair. Okay, so these are probably about 1/4 of an inch in width. This one's a little bit smaller. Doesn't matter. They don't have to be the same. In the center, so I'm going to take my fine line glue. I'm going to put this on the back. I'm going to line it up in the middle. Give it a press. Now on mine it's scallops. I'm going to take my smaller scissors and I'm just going to cut that scallop out. Okay, I'm going to turn it over and do the same on this side. Nothing fancy, doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm just going to take one of my flowers, put a little squirt of glue on the back of it. Okay, that's what I did. Sorry, I went out of frame a little bit. And I'm going to stick that on the side. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to take the piece that I cut off. I'm going to flag it. Just like I showed you in that other video. I'm gonna flag it, turn it over, put my glue. I'm gonna put this underneath my flower petals. It's kind of long. It's okay, it can be. As long as it's not coming off, it doesn't bother me. I'm gonna put that there. I can put another one if I want, but I don't necessarily have to. I can keep it just like that. I can also put a word sentiment on it if I want to. We'll just play it by ear. I can put another one. Let's go ahead and put another one. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one there. I'm going to take my small scissors and I'm going to flag it, cut into the middle, turn it and cut, flip it, put some glue on it. I'm going to slide this underneath my petals and push it down. And you've got a cute little embellishment. If you wanted to, you could go across the edges and ink those, but I like them just like that. Kind of looks like a little present. Okay, let's make another one. This one should fit. It does. So I'm just going to take it and add some glue. Put it in the middle on both sides. Press it, flip it. I'm going to cut my little scallop out. This would look perfectly fine on just a square. You don't have to have a scallop. It's just what I had already cut. You can use a circle. You can use a heart. You can use whatever you have. I'm going to put a dab of glue in the center of my flower. Stick it on. I can even leave it like that. They look adorable like that too. I'm going to cut piece of that and then I'll just cut another piece. So these little flags are going to be a little bit smaller. I can also just, instead of cutting the flag, just cut it at a diagonal. If you don't want to cut those flags, just cut it at a diagonal. Flip it, put your glue, stuff it under your flower. The same thing on this one. Little boogers are hard to hold on to sometimes. Stick it under your flower and there you go. That's what it looks like without having the ends flagged. Okay. I like the ends flagged, but that's just a personal preference. So this one we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut off the extra about there, flip it, glue, going to glue it to the center. You don't even have to glue it to the center. If you want it at a diagonal, put it at a diagonal. Flip it. I need to cut my scallop off. You may not need to do that. I'm gonna take a flower, put a spot of glue, push that down. I think I used all my little strips. So I'm going to take another one, my long scissors, try to get it even, but it's not detrimental. I'm going to cut this one in half, switch scissors, flag, and flag. Add some glue. If you want those shorter, you can make them shorter. Okay, so we made 3 of them. So that's it, you guys. That's what you can do with your homemade sprayed paper. All right, so thanks for joining me. I hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And it's sticking to me. Gluey fingers, get off. And as always, God bless. Bye-bye, guys.